Goldman Sachs filling XRP bags. That's right, folks. I got my yellow sticky note. You know what that means. We're going to be breaking down some numbers. And in today's video, we're discussing one of the biggest investment banks in the United States of America, Goldman Sachs, 700 billion assets under management. And we have a small allocation, just 0.33%. But I'm going to show you here their most recent 13F filings, what it reveals, showcasing that while retail might be a little bit scared, might be leaving, might have given up on crypto, institutional investors and smart money has been loading up and continues to buy the dip. That's the beauty of being able to go through these public filings that they have to submit with the SEC, which reveals just how much exposure they have to XRP and other digital assets as well. So this has been circulating today. Goldman Sachs discloses 2.36 billion in crypto exposure. The most of it is in Bitcoin, 1.1 billion, 1 billion in Ethereum. Boy, I'm sure that's a rough one for them. A lot of folks down on that Ethereum. And 153 million in XRP, beating Solana, coming in at 108 million. Now, this is only 0.33%, so not even half of 1% of their over 700 billion assets under management. Now, we're going to be following up because Goldman Sachs here, this is just the first of the top investment banks and biggest hedge funds in the United States of America, or global hedge funds that have to file these 13Fs here in the United States with our SEC. This is just the first of many filings that are going to be coming in and due by February 14th. So this Valentine's, after we take out wifey, take out your significant other, come on back. Make sure you guys subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our updates. But I'm going to be going through the rest of these 13F filings, public SEC documents, and we're going to see just how much XRP and digital asset exposure all of these investment banks have. But taking a look here, Goldman Sachs is the first, Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, Citigroup, all of them. They have filed for Q3 2025, but the filing for Q4 2025 end of year holdings, that's going to be coming in the next 4 days. Top hedge funds, Brevin Howard Capital, Millennium Management, Jane Street, one of the biggest market makers in the digital asset space right now. We get to see what they're up to. This is going to get really interesting. Tudor Investment Company, Investment Corp, Citadel, Renaissance, and Bridgewater. That's Ray Dalio's. So in the next few days, we'll have all of these filings. It's going to be very interesting to see. Now, for any of you guys who want to do this at home, it's very simple. You just go to the official Edgar website, SEC website, pull up the link, and then you're just going to use a keyword search. Just search for XRP because these are all ETF holdings. Remember, these spot ETFs for XRP are holding XRP behind them. And we're over 700 million XRP in these XRP ETF vaults so far. And we can see from Goldman Sachs that they have about $153 million worth of XRP ETFs on their filing here. So I'm going to show you. We're going to zoom in so you can take a look at this sec.gov archives, the Edgar database. Starting off with the 21 shares XRP ETF, and I'm going to slide on over so you can see you're just shy of $36 million worth of exposure. The chart or the line item right here is 2 million shares. So 2 million shares of the 21 shares XRP ETF, that's coming in just shy of $36 million worth of the 21 shares XRP ETF. Let's go down to the Bitwise XRP ETF. How much are we holding over there? Well, it is just shy of $40 million worth, 39.8, and that's just shy of 2 million shares for the Bitwise XRP ETF. Let's go down to the Franklin XRP Trust. Well, they got $38 million worth of exposure, just shy of 2 million shares once again. Back over, this is the final XRP holding in the Grayscale XRP Trust ETF, and that is coming in at 37.9 million, 1 million shares of that ETF over there. So, it's going to be a lot of fun to get the rest of these 13F filings here in the next few days. And I'm going to go through all of them. And it's actually pretty quick to do. Keyword search XRP, and we'll be able to go through. I didn't go check and see. There is other index funds and basket ETFs that do include XRP holdings as well. And so I didn't backtest and check, but the number that's being circulated out publicly right now on X is 153 million. And I added up just those 4 XRP ETFs equates to 153 million. So that math checks out. But on the other 13Fs, I am going to look at the basket and index fund ETFs as well, because we don't want to miss that. And this all goes back to a real conversation that we can have about XRP supply. Now, I'm not going to say XRP supply shock, even though at some point in the future, there very well could be a supply shock. Right now, all of this XRP is being bought OTC, which is why it's not having that impact on price that you would suspect to see with, hundreds of millions of dollars in inflows in over 1 billion assets under management for all of these XRP ETFs right now. So when people ask me, and you got a lot of people upset, market's down, and so they want to find somebody to lash out at. And I've seen some comments asking me, I think honest questions, what's up with the multiplier? Some people not so nice about it. Some people just genuinely asking, why aren't we seeing the multiplier effect on these XRP ETFs and the inflows that we've seen? It's all been over-the-counter transactions, which is not the public secondary exchanges that we use, and it doesn't add or take away from the public charts and order books that we are looking at, that we are trading with. So the OTC desks are reserved for institutional clients, big players. That's where they're accumulating the XRP. And we're watching the flows right now from Ripple every single month. They get the billion released from the escrow. They've been returning 700 million, keeping 300 million. And then we've watched that 300 million get distributed to Binance and a few other platforms. And with these 13F filings that are going to come out, we'll get to see who's holding what. And of course, this doesn't include the private hedge funds that don't have, aren't required to necessarily report on this. But what we do know is that, some of these hedge funds have already started to have some trouble with the market downturns, and they've been forced to sell, right? This collateral death spiral that we've been breaking down. So why is XRP below $2? And why haven't we seen the multiplier on the ETFs? Because all of it's been OTC. And the price levels that we've gone to have liquidated not just small retail traders, but the biggest hedge funds and institutions in the world are having to sell off that margin, sell off that collateral. They're being margin called effectively. And Trend Research was one that I just covered. That hedge fund recording about $750 million of losses, 750 million on their Ethereum longs. And so this is why the market's at where it's at. This is why XRP's not, what we were talking about XRP going to $5-10. I still am talking about it going to $5-10, but maybe even stretching up to $20 or $30 based off the inflows from the ETFs. That's not going to happen as long as the XRP for the ETFs continues getting acquired through the OTC desks. Very important to understand that. And that was actually a caveat that I'd outlined when we were going through those hypothetical scenarios. As I said, if all of the XRPs bought OTC just like Bitcoin ETFs were funding theirs, you're not going to see it. There was also a lot of in-kind transfers where people were giving their Bitcoin to BlackRock and then in exchange getting the BlackRock ETF. And there's multiple reasons why they do that. But for me, I'm just so excited here in the next few days to go through all of these 13F filings. I want to hear from you guys, in the comments down below, what this means to you. Because for me, this is the signal. The institutions, the bigger players are not shying away from this space at all. They're just starting to dip their toe in the water. For Goldman Sachs, this allocation of 2.3 billion is not even half of 1% of their total AUM. So as we start to see these funds, these investment banks start to move to even 1, 2, 3, 4, 5% allocation to digital assets, we're literally talking about billions upon tens of billions of inflows into these assets, which might not equate to price action today or in the short term, but down the road, we circle back and have a real honest conversation about XRP supply. Where is it? Where has it been going? And how much is actually going to be available for retail participants in the market down the road here a few years out, right? If all of these institutions are taking it for themselves, the ETFs are holding a bunch, you got Joe Blows like me that are holding as much as we possibly can, we're going to have ourselves an honest conversation here, and we'll be able to have more insight on that conversation because of these public filings, and we get to see who's holding what. So if you appreciate the content that we're putting out here on a daily basis, I just ask that you like this video, share it out far and wide, and all of our community resources are available at zachrector.com, and I greatly appreciate your support. God bless you all. I am your host, Zach Rector. I really appreciate all of the love and support. If you want to support the channel, just remember that you can start by smashing that thumbs up for me, sharing this content far and wide, and everything else is at my website.